God bless everybody today. It's August 3rd of 2021. It's 7:31 a.m. Central Time, United States. This is a new update on the potential Bitcoin crash and how this is going to affect even the normal markets. I've been following this for close to 3 or 4 months now. I've done multiple updates, and one thing is my charts that I've set up have not changed from the time I originally set up this first video back in May. And if you go back and look at those charts throughout the different updates, you'll notice that I've just added in where Wyckoff's numbers would have placed those parameters or those levels of either resistance or support on the charts. And I sort of want to show you where we are on the chart, and that I believe we are now headed to the spring. So I charted this out from Wyckoff and his distribution or accumulation schematic 1 phase that he was talking about, and this is what I believe we've been in, and that we've been in this phase B for some time. I've changed these numbers here because this was the upper top resistance line that was set back on May 12th. So I knew that this was the top resistance line, that if we hit this point, we would actually do a breakout and a correction that's going to happen over here in phase E. Because once this hits this 45,000 line, bounces up, we'll go back into what they call the distribution cycle of Wyckoff's method. I also changed this because this was the bottom number of the support lines that was set back here in January 21st at 1800 hours. So I changed these colors just so you could see where the top of the resistance line is, or was, that Wyckoff would have given us, which was back on May 12th, and the bottom of the support line. And so you can see these red numbers are actually the numbers that we've been hitting. Okay, so when you come to these lines and you actually look at them, you realize, wow, we're hitting these parameters. And so we've come all the way down, and we finally hit what I call this bottom number here. And then we just came up to this 42,005, 98.7. And now I believe, this was just within the last few days, let's see, it was July 30th, or 31st, this is the 3rd, so it was in the last 3 or 4 days, that now we will start to move down spring. And we're starting to see Bitcoin and Doge really struggle at this point. And this would fall within the parameters of the top resistance line and this support, or this bottom resistance line. So this fits right in that groove, and that this bottom point here, before it moved up to this resistance line point here, this point also would fall between these parameters, which it has. Now, one thing I have noticed is, though, Doge has not tracked the same anymore after this point. Okay, from this point it seemed to track, so let's go to Doge's chart real quick, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So in Doge's chart, we were fine until we hit here. Now realize Bitcoin is controlling this. It's applying a lot of downward pressure on Doge right now, to the point it's breaking out of the parameters, but it's Bitcoin that we have to watch, and it's going to dictate what the other currencies are doing. But look at this. Doge went up to 0.289367, which would have fit this parameter here. Okay. But then look, it tanked. It went to 0.1525000 on July 19th at 2300 hours, which would actually have brought this down below the ST and phase B. And so a lot of people thought, wow, that's the spring. No, you have to go back to Bitcoin and look at it. This is being applied additional pressure down, okay? So it's actually moved this line down, and then it brought it back up. But look what it brought it back up to. It only brought it back up to 29,359. And I can show you that on Doge's chart. But what I'm saying is it's not following this method in the sense that it's falling within these parameter lines anymore. It's actually changed the whole trajectory of where Doge is heading and how much lower this could actually go once it actually hits the spring down here, because now the top resistance line is only 0.232939 or 359, where it should have been around 40 cents. So if you look at that, you realize that Doge has changed in value about half of where it was, because at one time Bitcoin was 40,000 and Doge was 40 cents. Well, now Doge is 20 cents when Bitcoin's 40,000. So there's a huge difference in what is going on there. And so we need to look at that. And so I believe that once we see Bitcoin finally hit the spring at the bottom, that Doge will actually be extremely deep into this area down in here potentially. And so, will we hit potentially, 4 cents, 1 cent, or even lower? Possibly. Because if you go back to Bitcoin's chart, let's look at that. So if we come back here to Bitcoin's chart, and we realize that it went to 42,598.7, that was the top of the resistance line here, and that we potentially are now moving down into the spring, because now we've hit this low point here, and we've hit this top point here, and now I believe we're really starting to watch it struggle, and we're heading down to the spring. But if you look at how this is laid out, if Bitcoin's 42,598.7, and then you go to Doge's chart, Doge was only at 23 or 0.2329359 this time, where it normally would have tracked around 40 cents or higher. So we've had a change in this model, or how this resistance is working, because Bitcoin's controlling how Doge is being affected. And if this is compressed down to here, if this point, which should be up into the 40s, is now compressed down into here, which is below the ST line, and this point is below the ST and phase B line, so this is compressed down here. So this line would actually have come down to here, and this line would have come down to here. Think about when Bitcoin finally hits 15 or 20,000, this is going to compress this to a really low number, I believe. And so that's why I say this could be a 1 cent stock or lower by the time we're done. And so we need to look at that. So let's go actually to the charts on Kraken, and you can actually see what I'm talking about here. So if you sort of visualize Wyckoff's chart on Bitcoin's, we're on Bitcoin's chart here. This is your low point at 29,288.6. That was that. Went down to the support walls or the floor, and then it came all the way back up to 42,598, and now we're doing this massive parabolic spike down. This could be lateral. Wyckoff's chart shows there's a lot of resistance between here and what I believe will be the spring. So we're heading towards the spring. Okay, I believe. We'll see if that's the case and whether this keeps following the chart. But right as of now, I believe that we will see potentially Bitcoin move to 20,000 or even 15,000. And if that's the case, that's going to affect Doge tremendously. And if you go to Doge's chart, you can see that 0.1525000. This was the low point of Bitcoin, where it came back down to the support lines at 29,288.6. Okay, this is the same bottom, only this is on Doge's chart, and then it went up to 0.232939. This is the same point where Bitcoin goes to 42,598.7 on July 31st at 1900 hours. So you can see that these are tracking together still, but what I'm seeing is this is compressed here. This would have normally been around 16 cents, and that's fine. It fell through the floor a little bit from SC. Or ST in phase B, which was 16 cents. So Bitcoin forced this to go below the support line here. But look, when it came back up and Bitcoin hit 42,598.7, instead of this coming up to 40 cents, it only came up to 23 cents, or a little over 23 cents. So if we're heading towards the spring on this chart, and we're seeing this parabolic move down to the spring, which is potentially 1 cent down here, I say this could be even worse for Doge, because at 40 cents, 40 cents where we were back here, we're only at 20 cents now. Because Bitcoin was at 40,000, we were at 40 cents. But now we're at 40,000 Bitcoin, and we're at like 20, 21, 22 cent Doge. So when Bitcoin actually dumps, and we get down into the 20 or 15,000 Bitcoin, I believe this could really tank. And so that's what I've said for a while. If you get on the game here, and you have some extra spare dry powder at the bottom, you could actually pick up Doge or any of the cryptocurrencies by the time this crashes at a pretty extremely low price. And as you can see, we've dumped quite a bit. If you go to Bitcoin's chart and you look at that, we've gone from 42,598.7, which was on July 31st at 1900 hours, down to 38,405.6 within a matter of days. Okay, and look at that parabolic drop. Okay, and that's what I'm saying. If we take this down to a point of 15 or 20,000 Bitcoin, which would be down in here, that's really going to play havoc on the other cryptocurrencies, Doge and otherwise. And so, if this follows the chart, the method that Wyckoff has given us, we will see a major drop in this market within the next few weeks to a month. So if we look at Bitcoin's accumulation schematic 1 chart on Wyckoff's events, or his method, and we've hit this top resistance, and now we're moving down into this potential spring, and I could go extreme. I don't think it'll go quite this extreme down to 10 or 5,000, but I could see it potentially go to 20 to 15,000, which could potentially, if it does go to 10,000, then Doge and the other ones are really going to get, down to the very bottom on the far sale. So, where is the spring going to end up? I don't know. Is it going to do this within the next 2 weeks? I've sort of speculated the spring could occur between August 12th and September 8th. Right now we're at 38,000 Bitcoin. We're moving, down, potentially down to some pretty deep troughs here as we move down to the spring. Is this going to happen? I don't know. We're going to see. Right as of now, Bitcoin has tracked perfectly with Wyckoff's chart. I have not changed this chart since I originally built it from the first video back in May. Okay? And so when you chart these points, and I've given you all the points down here and where they occurred. So if you go out to the actual Bitcoin charts here and look at these points, you're going to realize they matter here, and that we finally hit this point here. Okay, so now are we going to hit the spring in the next few weeks to the next month? We'll see. Once we do get to the spring and it finally breaks and we get to this low point, wherever this is, 20,000, 15,000, 10,000, wherever it might be, we will start to move back up. It will retest, and then it will move back up. And once we hit the signal of strength up here, and you break this 45,000 resistance, you probably will start to see us move into correction mode. 45,000 is correction. Until you hit 45,000, you're not in correction mode. ST and phase B has always been the floor. And so once you go below 28,800, you probably are moving to the spring at that point. You're going to see this bottom out. Anyway, I just wanted to go over some of this. I think it's extremely interesting that this is following this chart pretty closely. Doge, on the other hand, is not following quite as well now. It was following the chart perfectly almost until we hit this last 2 sets of phases. This actually compressed all the way down past ST and phase B, which means I believe once it hits the spring, it's going to be really radical to the downside. And instead of going to 40 cents, it only went to 29,359. Okay, and so this number now is compressed almost down to here because you've got this 2,400 number over here. So this chart has actually shrunk, and so this resistance is running down here, not up here. Okay, so the resistance is being pushed down here. Now when we hit the spring and it actually drops through this floor again, because we barely punched through it and then we came back up again, I believe this could be extremely severe. And like I say, I believe this could happen in the next few weeks. So we'll just keep an eye on it. God bless everybody. I'll do an updated prophecy video before long, but I've been pretty extremely busy. If you could send prayers out to my mother, that'd be fantastic. She's struggling right now, and we're struggling with her. So I'd appreciate any prayers that you could reach out to us. And so that's taking up a lot of my time. And so I'm sorry if I'm not reaching out to people as much right now because I've got another things on my own plate. But they'll be fine. God works through these things, and it is what it is. It's life. Anyway, God bless and have a great day.